I think we're good to go. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the episode 2 of the Dizkonect Podcast. I am your host, Marvelous Play. It is so good to have you here with me again. Let me go ahead and turn down the music in my ear just a little bit, but I'm so glad to have you here. Dizkonect Podcast, we are your new bi-monthly source for all topics across gaming, live streaming, and pop culture headlines. Our motto is, here we aim to spark conversation. But before we get started, let me remind you of a couple of things. If you enjoy this episode or any other episode, be sure to find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Red Circle. And if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to rate it 5 stars on Apple Podcasts when it gets uploaded, just so you can help support and bump us up in the search algorithm. And for those of you who are feeling generous and want to financially support the show, you can take it a step further. You can go to redcircle.com/Dizkonect Podcast and you can make a one-time donation to help, streamline the production quality of the podcast, whatever amount you feel is feasible, okay? With that being said, we have a lot to discuss. How's everybody doing today? Hope you're doing well. But with that being said, let's go ahead and get to topic number 1, because I actually have a lot of thoughts I need to break down and a lot of things I want to share with you. Topic number 1, COD Warzone review. I gave this one a lot of thought and I really wanted to take my time with this because I don't know about you. I was one of the first people that I grew up on Call of Duty as a kid, and it was one of the reasons why I got into first-person shooters in the first place. So allow me to preface this with, it's good, but I have some qualms with Call of Duty Warzone that I need to address honestly, and I'm gonna tell you why. First, let's give you a little bit of background about the game. It is a free-to-play standalone mode. Well, not standalone, we're gonna talk about that too, but it's free-to-play. Within the first 24 hours, COD Warzone had over 6 million players sign in and download the game, okay? And now it has currently 30 million player count in the last 2 weeks of release, which is phenomenal. So shout out to Activision and the team over there in Infinity Ward for doing an amazing job of keeping up with that player base. However, it's done something that's unprecedented. It gave us not 1 but 2 new modes, one called Warzone, which is the Battle Royale mode, but also a second mode called Plunder, which is basically a cash grab mode. Whichever team has the most cash at the end of the mode basically ends up winning, okay? First impressions, I like it. I think it's a good welcome to the Call of Duty family, and I think it was well executed for the most part, but I do have a couple of pros and cons I want to kind of run down, and I'll give you my final thoughts and review of the game, like a score of like 1 to 5 when it's all said and done, okay? Let me go down the pros real quick, because we always want to, start light and then we'll hit them low. I'm sorry. That's just the way it's got to go. As far as the pros when it comes to Call of Duty Warzone, first thing I noticed about the game was the named interest points above the map as you jump. Now for me, I think this was actually a great addition to the whole Battle Royale genre, because how many times have you been into a single game or a Battle Royale and you have to press M or whatever it is if you're on controller, and you have to look at and identify where you want to land with your team on the map, okay? It is mad annoying to try to sit here and memorize all those name locations when I'm just trying to drop and find good loot and not get killed in the first like 50 seconds of the game, all right? Not getting killed in the first 50 seconds of the game is already hard enough without trying to memorize a name location. So what they've done is when you're in the plane with your team initially upon jump, you can look at the map, right? But you can also see the entire overlay of the land and see all the name locations right there, which to me is perfect and basically gets you up to speed and gets you ready to hit the ground, boots on the ground, get to gunning, getting your loot and everything, running with your team, which was phenomenal. Another positive I like about this was the loot collection of fallen enemy players. And this is one thing I think they did better than like Apex, okay? Because for me right now, Apex is like the pinnacle of Battle Royale. I play Apex quite a bit, probably too much. I have an unhealthy addiction, I'm sorry. But Apex to me right now is the pinnacle of Battle Royale. However, they've done this right. The loot collection on the enemy players makes it really simple to find loot and get everything that you need, just for the simple fact that when an enemy player dies, their loot falls on the ground, all right? I don't have to spend time going through a loot box, picking up items, finding attachments, things of that nature, just to make it work with my current gear or change my entire loadout, and then risking shot in the back of the head, trying to get what I need to keep playing the next round or getting to the next circle. Seeing everything right there makes it so concise and makes it so fast paced and so easy to pick up loot and just keep on moving to find the next fight or get into position for the next circle and zone. It's seamless. I like it. It's very reminiscent of Fortnite. Now, y'all know I hate to bring Fortnite into this because I do not like Fortnite. I will only play Fortnite on very select moments and with very select people, and you know who you are because you are in chat, some of you. But the one thing that they and Fortnite have done well is when you kill an enemy player or enemy team, the loot is right there on the ground. You can walk over it, you can get exactly what you need, or you can swap out with a simple press of a button. No loot box required. I love it, okay? When you get a kill or when you complete a contract, wherever the thing is in the game, you can keep your same weapon and all you have to do is find ammo. The gun basically levels up in itself because the more kills, the more successful your team is, you get attachments and everything for your game automatically. So you don't have to worry about, do I need a level 2 attachment? Do I need a level 3? Do I need this stock with this barrel? Do I need this sight with this gun? I don't have to worry about that. As long as I'm getting kills, as long as I'm progressing in the game, the gun levels up automatically with everything that I need. And then I also have the ability to call in loadout drops and grab a loadout from something I've already made before I even started the game. So I think both of those were phenomenal, okay? The cash system. It just makes sense. The cash system saves a lot of time because how many times have you been in a BR, especially Apex, when like you've been looking for a fight, you've been trying to find loot, you've been trying to get everything that you need to be the final like 2 or 3 teams, and you're still out here rocking a plain white tee, white armor. Does it look like I want to be in the final 3 teams with plain white tee armor? I'm not trying to be out here in my white tee like we back in 2005, like we the franchise boys. I'm not trying to do this. It pains me so bad to try to find everything that I need. And everybody's got purple, they've got gold, they've got red Evo shields, and I'm out here in my plain in my white tee in the final circle. It makes no sense. So the RNG is not in your favor. And that's the thing about battle royales in general. It's like 80% luck with your RNG and your loot and 20% skill half the time. Because every time it's usually the team who has all gold shields because they can out heal everybody that usually ends up winning the game. But with the cash system in Call of Duty Warzone, it kind of equals out because everybody is limited to the same amount of ammo, everybody's limited to the same amount of armor plates, and everybody is basically, limited to the same guns for the most part in the final, circle or teams. And if you don't have it, you can buy it. If I can't loot it from somebody, I can buy it. So I never feel like I'm pressed to, go kill a team just because I need your gas mask. You got a gas mask, I don't have one. I need it. I need to compromise my position to get what I need. Or I can go over here to this little cash drop, this little buy station, and take my $4,500 or however much I have and go buy the gas mask I need to run through this circle to get into the next zone. So the cash system in a BR just makes sense because you're getting rewarded for exploration, you're getting rewarded for doing bounties, for doing contracts, and taking on enemy players, and you can still buy the things that you need regardless if you're jumping into the game late, whether you just got rezzed, whatever the case may be. And the cash is shareable amongst your team, so it's a fantastic system. The fourth thing I will say that's a big pro to the Call of Duty Warzone is going to be the unique respawn system, where basically you can be thrown in jail, what's called the gulag system, but really it's basically just the 1v1 gun mode known as gunfight when the game first came out, where it's you versus another player, and basically whoever wins that 1v1 duel will come out on top and will win their freedom. Now say you don't win your fight in the gulag, where your team still has the ability to respawn you and buy you back into the game as long as they have $4,500. And being that the team can pool their money and share money with each other, I can drop my teammate $2,300, he's got his $2,200, hey, we got $4,500. Guess what? Our third teammate can come back. He's got a fighting chance because it keeps the competitive nature going, and you can never let an enemy team get away because you never know if they have enough money to bring back that second or third team member, all right? So it basically encourages you to finish your kill, get the squad wipe, and take action early on because you never know who's going to be coming back to haunt you just because you didn't wipe them off the map, okay? So I think the respawn system with gulag and the ability to buy back your teammates provided that you have enough cash is another serious pro about this game that I did enjoy. Now, with all that being said, I have some gripes about this game. And some of you know my gripes about this game already, and I'm not even going to front, I'm not even going to lie. I'm going to keep it kind of short and simple. Even though I enjoy the game, it's not perfect. So let's get into the cons of it. First off, that ping system. That horrible horrible ping system that for whatever reason they tried to copy off Apex and Fortnite and they just did not succeed. Listen, I applaud the effort. I applaud you wanting to take something innovative, throw your own twist on it. You saw that it worked and you said, hey, we can make it work for ourselves. In this case, y'all should have left that shit alone. All right, y'all did not know. They did their best, but they should have left that shit alone. I'm sorry, cause first of all, whose idea was it to bring the ping system onto the left alt button? I already have to use these 4 fingers right here to W, A, S, and D, right? Why do I need to reach my thumb right here? For those of you who are viewing this video on YouTube, you'll be able to see it, which, by the way, subscribe to the YouTube channel, plug unplug. But anyway, for the video version, why do I have to use this thumb right here to reach all the way down on my keyboard to hit left alt to ping that there's an enemy nearby or an item of interest? This is the most misplaced ping system I've ever seen. And then you have to 1 ping to identify an item. You have to 2 ping to identify an enemy. And then there's another ping for something completely. I can't use the ping system in that game. It gives me a headache. I literally rather go ahead and jump in a car and drive off the nearest cliff right into enemy fire if I have to ping where the enemy is. I'd rather kamikaze my car into the enemy team to let you know where they are rather than ping them. It's that bad. Another gripe that I have with the game: early and late camping. Early and late camping is something that has been known to Call of Duty since Call of Duty has been a thing, all right? We know camping is prevalent in COD since the beginning of time. There's no getting around it. It's in the player base. It's instilled in everybody. They're never going to change it, all right? But the thing about Warzone is it's a big map. It may be too big because they say you can host up to 150 people in one match, which is fine. But even with 150 people, I still feel like I really don't even see anybody, or I don't see another enemy team or another solo player till like I'm 2 circles into the game, which is fascinating to me. We want loot. We want to be able to get loot and do contracts, sure, but I also want to be able to find people and know that I'm not playing solo at a certain point in the game. And the map is just too big and encourages way too much camping both early and late game, especially, and you know the players. You know who you are out there. The ones of you who sit there and camp around the freaking buy stations, ones of you who sit there and camp around the freaking cash drop locations and plunder. You know who you are, and I'm speaking directly to you. Stop it, okay? I'm looking for you. Come out and fight me like the man or woman that you are, and let's be done with this, because I don't have all day to be sitting here and looking for you for an entire hour. If I wanted to play a game and play a game mode for a whole hour, I would go play Battlefield. Battlefield makes sense to me. Battlefield is pretty much like 50v50. It's a giant battlefield. The map is like twice the size of Call of Duty, and a whole match can take you 1 hour on itself. If I want to sit here and play a BR for an hour, give me Battlefield BR, because that's basically what we're doing at this point. 150 players on that little map is too big and way too much camping. I can't do it. I'm sorry. And then the other thing I have with this game is the clunky hit detection. Now, I've talked to my friends about this. Y'all know I hate using the freaking 357 revolver. Y'all know I hate the Desert Eagle Magnum. I just hate the pistol mechanics in Call of Duty as a whole. But the hit detection and the clunky movement just feels so off, especially when you're coming from something like Apex Legends, where you have the smooth transition system, where the mechanics are so fluid, where you have abilities, the gun mechanics, the firefights feel tight. To this, I can have my crosshairs on somebody's head with a sniper. I can snipe them and it registers for a chest shot or a body shot. It's mad annoying. I don't understand who does the hit detection and what's the difference between like my tick rate, your latency, whatever the case may be. I don't know the technical jargon for all this stuff. Let's be honest. But the hit detection and movement system compared to like other BRs, like in the modern age, just feels so off. It's unbearable at times. And not only that, now we have it basically where there's a lack of anti-cheat in the game as well too. So now you have people who are especially like speed running around the map, especially if you play on PC. You've probably seen them, the people who are speed hacking and can magically get across the map when the match just started. Like I saw you just kill, you know, Timmy 92310TTV on, you know, all the way over in Boneyard, and now you're over all the way over here at Superstore. How? How did you just get over here and you're on the other side of the map to kill me, but you just killed Timmy293210 TTV just 5 seconds ago? It boggles my mind that there is not a more dedicated anti-cheat system in this game for PC players and even for console players at some point. Last 2 points I want to make about it that are cons to me is also the lack of like the pointless squad leader jump. What is the point of having a squad leader when you jump out of the plane? Okay, many people have said this, but I'm just going to re-emphasize it. In Apex, or any other BR, even in PUBG, I'll give PUBG a pass for this because they did it right, because it's a different type of battle royale. But what point is it being squad leader and making me squad leader that when I jump, we all still have to jump separately? Like, the thing I admired about Apex that they did it well is like when you jump as a squad leader, you carry your entire team. You're basically, you know, boots on the ground and bringing all of your people with you, because it's like, hey, I have faith that if we land here together as a team, we're going to find loot, we're going to find what we need to survive the next fight or to keep it going, right? Now, in Call of Duty, that's not the case. They give you the title of squad leader, but still require everybody to jump separately. So I can be over here in Superstore. I'm going to use Split as an example. I can be over here in Superstore. Split can still decide to jump like Boneyard, and we're miles away from each other. Like, what was the point of giving me squad leader if we're not even going to decide to land in the same like area? It makes no sense. Like, just do away with the whole squad leader system because it doesn't add up. It's basically pointless at this time. And then my biggest and last gripe with this game before we move on to topic number 2 is it's not standalone. Standalone to me means something completely different than what it means to Infinity Ward and Activision, apparently. All right, when you say you're going to come out with a standalone title, that means I can download the game for free or for a cost, whatever the case may be, and I don't have to have anything else installed to play the game. Literally, that was supposed to be the promise of Warzone and Plunder, is it was a standalone experience that does not require you to have Modern Warfare. However, that was not the case. We now learned that when you downloaded Warzone, in order to play Warzone and Plunder, you had to download 85 gigabytes to play the game, which was actually just them saying, hey, we need you to download Modern Warfare as a whole, just so you can have access to Warzone and Plunder, and basically the rest of the content of the game is cut off. That's not standalone. Standalone is me being able to go to the Battle.net launcher, being able to select Warzone and Plunder, download it, play it. I never have to look at that awful mess that is Modern Warfare multiplayer and just play when I'm ready to without having to launch the Modern Warfare application. This is not standalone, people. I don't know where. Can somebody please Google standalone and send it to Activision, Blizzard, Infinity Ward, somebody? Because maybe I'm just dumb. Maybe my college education didn't hold up. Maybe public education has failed me, people. But last time I checked, the definition of standalone did not require me to download a whole separate game to play one mode. Am I lost? Am I confused? Is it still Monday, Tuesday? See, I don't even remember what day it is. Whatever, but standalone apparently is not standalone anymore, and that is my biggest gripe with this game. So all in all, when we're talking about Call of Duty Warzone, like, can I recommend it to somebody? Yes, I will recommend it if you have people to play it with. That's my preference. If you want to play solo in Warzone and BR, you can do that. It's a good game. It's an honest attempt. It's much better than what we got with, you know, Black Ops Blackout mode, which we ain't gonna talk about. That abysmal mess, but it was a way better attempt than Blackout. However, it's good, a step in the right direction, and I will recommend it, but I will recommend it with an asterisk and be like, download it and play it at your own free will. That's all I got to say about Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Moving on to topic number 2, GameStop closures. Now, this shouldn't come no surprise to you that GameStop is going through a rough time right now, everybody. GameStop is probably one of the most beloved and recognized like names in gaming from like the early 90s for many of us, okay? I remember as a kid, basically, and back then we had a whole selection of like choices. You could get your games from Walmart. You can get your games from Kmart. You could go to EB Games. Do y'all remember EB Games, Electronics Boutique? For those of you who are old enough, or whatever the case may be. And then you also had GameStop. Yeah, I remember those. It was literally always a battle between Walmart, Kmart, EB Games, and GameStop to get your business whenever a new game came out. However, the day of EB Games, Kmart, Walmart, all that is soon coming to an end. Not immediately, but slowly, because digital games and digital purchases have basically taken over physical copies. But sometimes you just love to have a physical copy in hand. And I recognize that, and I'm not trying to diss physical purchases. I still have a couple myself, but most things are digital. But GameStop, they're really going through a hard time with declining profits, and then they're not doing much in the way of their PR in the unrest of like what we're going through right now with COVID-19 and the whole, coronavirus pandemic. First, they refused to close down their stores. They wanted to label themselves and their employees as essential personnel. Now, I looked up the definition of essential. Essential means like mandatory, very important, it's just you have to have it. I never had a time in my life where I just sat back and be like, you know what? I just need to go to GameStop and see if they have Crash Bandicoot Racing on sale for 15% off. I've never had a moment in my life where like GameStop was that essential, where I was like, GameStop is going to dictate my day and what I need to do. So the fact that they sat here and tried to label themselves as essential store and refused to shut down in the midst of this whole like COVID-19 pandemic and everything was insane to me. And honestly, they got what they deserved when they had employees like walk out and refuse to come into work. And then finally the government mandated that they had to shut down in order to, to take precautions for the betterment of their employees. So, congrats to the government for getting one thing right, for GameStop trying to label themselves as essential. They've just been taking loss after loss. I mean, it was just came out in a report not even 3 days ago that just this year alone in 2020, GameStop is set to close over 320 stores in 2020 alone. Now let's go back and do some fact checking on GameStop and see why it's getting such a bad rap and why we may soon be on the end of GameStop as a whole as, the go-to place for your physical copies, okay? In 2019, they closed 321 stores worldwide, okay, across North America, Canada, and other countries, okay? They closed 150 stores back in 2017. In the third quarter of 2018, this company reported a net loss of $488.6 million in just a single quarter alone, the third quarter, which is the most important quarter of the year. The third quarter is basically when all of the holiday releases come out, like all your big name AAA titles come out around like, October, November, December, because fourth quarter is actually like January, February, March of like fiscal years, to be honest with you, when you're doing it from like a business fiscal calendar. So to lose 488.6 million in the third quarter, which is the busiest holiday shopping season for any company, is huge. Not only that, back in January of last year, 2019, GameStop tried to off and sell the company, but still they were unable to find investors that were willing to take on the debt that they have accumulated or the loss of profit. And they recorded a year loss of $673 million for the year in 2019. So how they're still up and running is beyond me, but they've got billions of dollars. So, who am I to count their pockets and their wallets, right? And then the last thing is like since 2018, they've laid off over a dozen regional managers and over 120 plus store associates since 2018. So the question is, what can GameStop do to basically restructure themselves to save, face and to become profitable again? Well, honestly, the biggest thing right now is what they're doing is basically eliminating stores. And I hate to say that because that's going to put so many hardworking people out of a job, because those people have families and they're relying on that income, as much or as meager, whatever you want to call it. It's still a living at the end of the day. It's an honest living. So they got to cut operating costs somehow. And then I see all these reports and all of these things on GameStop's website where they're talking about doing a couple of different things, such as like experimenting with social spaces where you can basically come in, You can do LAN tournaments with your friends, whether you do PC, PS4, Xbox. They're thinking about doing select stores where you come in and buy collectibles like Funko Pop and things of that nature. And then you also have like stores which are more in line with what we have now, where it's like basically filled to the brim with kiosks, where you come in, you try select games on kiosks, you get a feel for them before you buy, so you know what you're getting, and then you purchase the game, and then you can go about your merry way. So they've been trying to do a whole myriad of things to save face and become profitable again, and I salute them for this. And look, I'll be the first person to say it. I buy all my games digital, okay? There's hardly a game I buy now that's physical, like DVD, any of that anymore. But I feel for the people who love their digital copies, even though we technically never own the games, and I get that. Whether you do digital or physical, there's still something to be said about having a physical copy in hand that makes you feel like your $60 purchase was worth it. Because, you know, back in the day of like Sega, Nintendo, and all that, you got your cartridge, you got your CD, you were excited because you had the posters and you remember, you had the posters, you had the user manual, you had the stickers, if it came with stickers, you had the hard copies, some books, some games came with comics, things of that nature, right? And we don't get that anymore. Basically now, even if you go buy a physical copy, what do you get? You get a hard plastic case with a digital code that's still telling you to go buy the game or download it digitally. Like it's a little paper thin DVD size thing with a digital code that's telling you to go download the game. I thought there was going to be a physical CD in this case. It's a paper placeholder with a digital code still telling me to go download the digital game. I am so confusion right now as to where we have gone with game development and marketing and placeholding, but it is what it is. I'm rooting for GameStop. I want GameStop to find something that's truly going to fill that niche market, just so we can get back the experiences that we used to have, because I enjoy physical copies. There are many of you who play on physical copies and are not ready to go down the road of digital downloads. That's cool. But we have to do something, or they have to do something to, one, fix their broken trade and return policy, which has already been making people lose faith in them for a long time. Two, they got to prioritize employee safety and employee wellness, especially in the time that we're living in now with the COVID-19 coronavirus. And three, they got to find a way to appeal to the gamers to make them want to come in store, whether it's through digital or physical purchases. They've got to do something because they're losing out big time. Other retailers are still holding on and are doing it successfully, like Target, like Best Buy, like Walmart. If you live in Canada, we talked about EB Games. EB Games is still a thing if you live in Canada. Why America shut down, I don't know, but that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother podcast. But I'm rooting on you, GameStop. I hope you really get this shit together, because it would be such a shame to see another well-known giant in the gaming industry go under, especially one that we grew up with and I have fond memories of waiting in line to get my games with as a kid. All right, we're going to move on to new and upcoming releases. So for those of you who are looking for some new and upcoming gaming releases, I've got a solid for you. All right, so here are a couple games I think you should check out if you don't already have them, and some that'll be coming out in the next upcoming days. All right, so first and foremost is Doom Eternal. Now, for those of you who are fans and are familiar with Doom, you're not going to be disappointed. I had a chance to play this game. I do not own it, but I had the chance to finally play it. It is leagues ahead of 2016's Doom. That game, like, Doom 2016 was already crack, okay? And Eternal, just when you thought ID Software could not do themselves, they did, all right? It's basically, like I said, developed by id Software. Right now, it's currently sitting at a Metacritic score of 90, and it's available on PC, PS4, and Xbox. So if you enjoy first-person shooters, if you enjoy fast-paced mechanics, if you enjoy multiplayer, if you enjoy slaying, demons with shotguns and gore, then go check out Doom Eternal. You will not regret it. I highly recommend it, being that I have played it. And the soundtrack is phenomenal. If you're into metal, if you're into heavy rock, if you're into something that'll get your adrenaline pumping and feed that bloodlust, Doom Eternal, out right now, PC, PS4, and Xbox. All right, Animal Crossing New Horizons. Now, I feel like I really don't have to explain this one because most of you are already on this wave already, but we're going to go ahead and mention it. Animal Crossing New Horizons, developed by Nintendo, of course, for the Nintendo Switch. Currently sitting at a Metacritic score of 91, and you can play with up to 8 players. All right, so you know what that means? You and 7 more of your friends can finally take the getaway vacation that you dreamed of, and in the pursuit of doing that, can fall hopelessly in debt thanks to Tom Nook. So, available right now, Nintendo Switch, Animal Crossing New Horizons. Get in there, build your dream vacation, run Tom Nook his bells, and send him my regards, because I will not be coming on the island with you. But God bless you. All right. Releasing today, Persona 5 Royal. Now, for all of my Persona fans, this is for you. If you love JRPGs, if you love RPGs in general, then you will love this. All right. It just came out today. It already has a Metacritic score of 95. It's developed by Atlas, the same company that's done all the Persona games up until this point, and it's available today on PS4. So if you want to deal out justice behind the mask, if you want to do heists, if you want to take on a brand new persona and, you know, live your best life, then you can do that today on PlayStation. All right. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 Remastered. A little sleeper hit that was hinted at but finally came through the door is available today. It's once again brought to you by the good people at Infinity Ward. It's available on PlayStation 4. If you're on PC and Xbox, you will have to wait until April 30th. Personally, I don't know why they keep doing this. Like, they keep releasing game modes and pushing back release dates for other platforms for a whole 30 days over PlayStation. To me, I think it's a bad business model. We're in a time and place where I don't have 30 days to be sitting here waiting for a game. If I ain't got the game at the same time another platform has the game, I just don't want the game. But, you know, it is what it is. So if you want to go back and relive the glory days of Call of Duty in what is, I consider, the best version and the best game that ever graced the whole entire franchise, then you can go pick up Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 Remastered, available now on PlayStation 4 and on PC and Xbox on April 30th. Resident Evil 3 Remake, coming out on April 3rd for PC, PS4, and Xbox. It's developed by Capcom. It's built on the same successful RE engine that was used in 2019's Resident Evil 2 Remake and 2017's Resident Evil 7. And the thing about this, and me and Chelsea were talking about this earlier, and we might talk about this a little bit more, is purchasers of the game will be treated to RE Resistance, which is kind of like their new asymmetrical multiplayer mode, where it's like a 4v1, 4 survivors, and 1 player can take control of like the mastermind. So you can basically control the zombies, the traps, and everything, and you know, try to wipe out your friends or try to fight for survival. But once again, that will be available on April 3rd for PC, PS4, and Xbox. If you enjoy horror and gory games, Resident Evil 3 Remake, go pick that up. And then the last game that I know everybody is waiting for, and is one of my most anticipated games, is that Final Fantasy VII Remake. Being developed by Square Enix, who we all know and love. It's slated to be released in multi-episodes to give a complete story. Now, when I say that, people get really confused when we talk about multi-episodes. Like, they think like they're going to release like the game in incomplete like increments. No, what they're saying is basically they're going to pull the same thing that they did with, like, think Final Fantasy 13 or Final Fantasy 10, where you have like 10, then 10-2, or 13 and 13-2, things of that nature. So Final Fantasy VII Remake will be slated for release on April 10th on the PS4 first. Now, PC and Xbox are going to get their own versions. We just don't know when. They told us to basically hold off, and they will announce the dates for PC and Xbox ports. But I've played the demo. I love the demo. I don't have a PlayStation. I had to borrow somebody else's PlayStation because that's how bad I wanted to play this game, y'all. And when I tell you it is gorgeous, it is gorgeous. You will love it, and I highly recommend that you pick this game up if you love Final Fantasy VII. So, April 10th, PlayStation 4 owners, you're in for a treat. PC, Xbox, wait a little bit longer, but they say they got us, all right? So that is the topics for the day. Now, we've ran through a lot of topics, we've had a lot of discussion, and I'm very much excited for this next portion. This is what I get to do, and this is what I love about the podcast. Now, every so often, I get to invite special guests onto this show that all of you love, I love, and I want to get to know them a little bit more. And they honestly bring a good personality to Twitch and to the area of content creation. She was recommended by Cup, and anybody that Cup recommends is always an automatic like win in my book, because Cup's word is bond. All right, that's how we rock, and that's what I appreciate about Cup. So, with that being said, as you can see right here, right, just follow my fingers if you're watching this on YouTube. Follow my fingers. We are going to sit down with none other than Miss ChelseaBytes, who is here on behalf of her community, the Bite Command, and we're going to be talking about several topics across gaming, tech, and life. I'm excited to have her here. You should be excited. So with that being said, everybody, please help me in giving a warm applause and welcome to none other than Miss ChelseaBytes. Chelsea, are you here?
I am here.
I can see you. And see, I can hear you perfectly.
Excellent. I'm glad to hear it. So I had to mute your stream. So I'm here now in the present.
No, I understand completely, especially my stream. And sometimes I get very loud and animated. So I can understand completely. But how are you feeling today? It's been a long time coming. We've been waiting to do this for like, what, 2 weeks or so?
It's been a minute. I know I got that tweet and I was like, where are all these tweets coming from? Who has my name in their mouth? And then I think everything blew up like shortly after that. So it's been a minute. It's been at least 2 to 3 weeks. But yeah, here we are, finally.
Yes. And
who'd have thought?
Not me. that whole Paul Rudd meme, we have to do
yes.
that. Who would have thought?
I love that. That's my favorite. Not me.
Not me. But I think this is honestly a good fit, because when Cup recommended you, and I already knew of you, and I've been in your streams before. You've seen me in there before. But,
oh yeah.
But just the simple fact, like, to me, and we've had this conversation even before the podcast started. Before we get into like the questions, interviews, like, chat, y'all gotta realize we talk before we go live on these podcasts. I just appreciate having somebody of high energy and big personality to bounce off of, because me, and I'm very calm, I'm very collected, and sometimes I'm like very like nonchalant, and that's just me. I can't help that. That's my personality traits. But to bring you on and to see your energy, to see everything that you just exude when you go live and people love you for it, and to have that as like it just it makes it so much more exciting to do this like podcast.
I kind of know that I have a high energy level just from interacting with people, but you never know how people see you. So it's nice to give that feedback. Like, I like to tell, just like how I said before the podcast, when I see your stream, it's high quality, your voice is awesome, you're relaxing. That's like key for me. Like, while I'm high energy, I enjoy relaxing, chill streamers. So for me, that's like 10 out of 10. But yeah, I know they probably talking all that trash. Thank you. Oh, here is being so sweet.
I see this. And definitely, I want to say this. Shout out to the entire Bite Command community. There's many of you who are here right now in the Twitch chat. For those of you who are listening to this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you enjoy your podcasts, by the way, that's another plug. Go do that. You won't be able to experience this. It's nothing like being and doing this live on Twitch and seeing all of the Bite Command emotes, the support, the community members all in one space, like to celebrate their favorite streamer. And so I wish I could give people who are listening to this that experience, but you'll have to go back and watch the VOD. But I want to thank y'all. The Bite Command, thank y'all for showing up and supporting your favorite streamer. Shout out to all of you, just as much as Chelsea.
Y'all are awesome. They never cease to amaze me. We've done events before, and it makes me like tear up every time just to see them come in with emotes and supporting. And no matter how much trash I talk and how much trash we throw around together, they are still near and dear to my heart. Even though I got words for all of them all the time. Get Mango out of here. Look at him. But yeah.
We will definitely have some words for Mango, and we will get on the subject of Mango because, Mango, you're not left out of this discussion. We going to bring you into this too in some way, some form. All right.
He just said, huh?
I mean, not
Oh,
physically on camera, but Mango, if you think you're like left out, no, you're not left out. All right.
no, you not. I'll
No,
make sure of it. So
she
yeah.
she will. For those people, select few individuals who have never met Chelsea. Like, I always have to open this, and it's always customary with inner interview. Tell us, who is ChelseaBytes? Like, give us a brief rundown on who you are, your background, just everything you would want us to know.
What I want you to know is that Chelsea, the person behind ChelseaBytes, is a very, very laid back, chill, sometimes introverted, most times extroverted, just person. I like playing video games. I like people. I don't know if that's a crux. I know Mango is like, man, you like people too much. You talk too much. But I like talking to people. I like expressing myself in many different ways. If not computer science, if not math, then it's art, it's acting, it's a whole bunch of things. I love to sing, I love to dance. That's one side they haven't seen yet. They haven't seen me bust a rug yet. But
Wait a second.
yeah,
So
I
just
know,
so
right?
just dance stream in the future.
Oh, oh, maybe. Yeah, we might have to pull out a Just Dance. I don't see Just Dance streamers get a whole stigma, but that's a whole nother stream. Like that's a whole nother discussion. But I would love to do it. I love Just Dance. But that's Chelsea behind ChelseaBytes. ChelseaBytes, if we're going towards like a mission, it's kind of to break down the image of what a computer scientist looks like.
Mm-hmm.
So when you imagine a computer scientist, a lot of people probably think South Asian or Caucasian. And they're wearing their polos and their khakis and they're in Silicon Valley and they're nerdy and they're kind of, just slumming it. But I'm a computer scientist and I don't look like that. And when I watch shows like Silicon Valley or other things like that, I don't see a lot of me. So I'm trying to show that not only do computer scientists look like me
Mm-hmm.
or anyone in the engineering field, we're not just introverted. Oh, we're math nerds in this. No, we like to do things outside of that. We have other interests. So it's kind of just to break down the mold. And I'm hoping that in the future we can further push that mission statement of ChelseaBytes and include everyone, not just tech and nerd enthusiasts and people who like games, but just kind of spread it and make it a cohesive, group for everyone.
And I think that's important because like it doesn't have to be mutually exclusive to like one particular like field. Like tech like has to be just gaming or just computer scientists, programming, things of that nature. It doesn't have to be mutually exclusive. And you're a very multi-dimensional person, so of course we would expect you to have very multi-dimensional interests, hobbies, everything that goes into making the wonderful person that we love to see today. So I think that's a great way to actually put it, though, to get us
Yeah,
started.
that people are people.
Exactly.
You think, right? You think that would be it, but it's so easy for people to put that it's easy for people to judge. So they give everybody a stereotype and we're here to break those stereotypes down.
I like it. Stereotype, like just breaking those down. It's what we got to do. Okay. So on that note, you talk about extracurricular activities and hobbies. So obviously the most noticeable one is we're here on Twitch, and Twitch is very heavily gaming focused. Even though we have just chatting, we have art, and we have all these different categories that we love, and I love to go to these streams and see them. We're definitely still very much, people regard Twitch as like the gaming center for like live streaming. So
Mhm.
who got you started in the world of gaming, and basically what age were you when you remember picking up your very first game?
So, specifically on just anything tech game related, it was mostly my dad. He was really a self-made person, so a lot of the stuff that he did, he went and searched it out for himself. So
Mm-hmm.
I was lucky to get that from him. When it came to video games, though, the first games that he showed me were literally Resident Evil and Tomb Raider. So watching him play it, it was cool because it was, those were games that, your mother didn't want you to play. They were super gory, super violent.
Yep,
So I used
I
to watch,
remember.
I know, right? And now that you look back at those games, it's like you couldn't even comprehend what was really going on. Everything was super blocky. It wasn't even like everything is so realistic now.
Yes.
But yeah, those games got me into wanting to play. So of course, I was on whenever I got to get on a PC back then, I got to get on MS-DOS. If anybody remembers what it was like a
Mm-hmm.
hub of games of
Mm-hmm.
just, crappy 8-bit just little incomprehensible games. So those were where I first started playing games. Then I finally got a Dreamcast. I played Toy Soldier so much and then upgraded from that to a GameCube, and it just kind of snowballed from there. I've been a PlayStation person for a long time. I've never picked up an Xbox. Yeah, it just never like Halo's cool, but it's just never been in my realm of games.
That's fine.
And
That's fine.
yeah, I know it's hey, I respect it. I respect the franchise. Bungie went all out, but I just never stepped into it. But yeah, that's basically my rundown of who got me into games and where I'm at today.
And I think that's really honestly that's honestly a great start to see that not only was your dad able to share a love of something he loved with you, which honestly just creates a stronger bond, but to see it still carry it over and maybe like one day in the future when you have your own family, like that would be something you'll be able to bond with your own children with, and that's kind of like laying the foundation of like how you keep them grounded, how you keep communication going. But when you talked about MS-DOS, the first thing, and somebody talked about this in the chat, and I was thinking this in my head, is like those games on floppy disks. I remember back in the day when the only games we were allowed to have, especially in school, even though they were educational, but they were still considered video games. Do you remember MS-DOS? Oh my God. Do you remember that godforsaken game, Oregon Trail? Do you remember that
Yes,
game?
of course. I always
Oh,
lost half my family down the river because I was just really unlucky when it came to river. How could that game started off as like a text-based game? Like literally
yes.
you would have a piece of paper and it would just print out and you just have to type in what you did next. It used to be 10 times worse than that.
Oh my God. The fact that it started out text based and then they slowly like came out with the updated visuals with your wagon, with you losing like your dog and like things breaking and getting tagged by politically correct now indigenous people. So we're politically
Yes.
correct now, but this
And
is
it's nuts. I didn't even think about that when I was younger. I think we've at least we've risen in respect levels. We were getting better, but it's that stuff that like literally I was just like, oh, that's normal. That's us. And now I look back, I'm like, that did not age well whatsoever. Mm,
mm-mm, mm-mm.
mm-mm.
I don't think we could do Oregon Trail to the same extent that we did it back then. I'm guaranteeing you that is not gonna go over so well.
Absolutely not. I see y'all talking about how your wagon wheels broke. Oh, you were
Yes,
playing that? Somebody was playing that not too long ago. You're wild.
you are, and hats
Mhm.
off to you, cause you a good one. Cause I'm not touching Oregon Trail. That
I'm
game left
done.
that game left me traumatized. I know even to this day I will never beat that game. There actually, do you really ever beat Oregon Trail? Is there really a way to ever win? Really?
No, because I think every time somebody ended up at the end, they had lost so much. They had lost so like it was either just them and their wife or just them and their kid and maybe one horse and a wagon. It was I'm like, what's it worth at that point? Just take me. Take me.
Yeah, it's like you don't took my dog, you don't took my wife, you don't took my kids. Like I'm on
The
three
dog
wagon.
was enough. The
The
dog
dog
was
was
enough
the
to
the
quit.
the dog was enough, but then you took the wife, the kids. I'm basically left out here with like just me, myself, and I in like one broke down wagon wheel. Just, just go ahead and take me too. There's really no way to really win this scenario, but
What life am I living?
a lot of us should have a lot more family issues behind that game and other games. But we're
Bruh. And actually hitting back and speaking of that, hitting back on my dad. So my dad played games when I was younger.
mm-hmm,
Now, mind you, I am the oldest of my siblings, and my mother had me when she was in college. So they were very, very young. They were just getting their first jobs after they graduated. I was there when my mother walked down the aisle for her graduation. I was also there when they were married because my
Nice.
parents weren't married either. So for me, I was there for their wedding. And
Nice.
I got to see a lot of the stuff that parents, have to bicker and fight and argue about
Mm-hmm.
because now they got a kid on top of it. So my dad kind of evolved from playing games and having a job to owning a business and cutting games off altogether because he started.
Whoa.
I know. My mom, she's not a gamer at all. Like she doesn't even really play like phone games. She thought it was like childish for you to play video games. She didn't like that, when she either came home or he came home and I was home, and he would play on his console. She
Hmm.
was like, there's more productive things that you could be doing. So for me, unfortunately, my dad started to cut off games the older I got. And now he just doesn't play any. And I see it in his eyes. Like, I remember when Dead by Daylight came out, and I think they either brought I forgot which character. I think it was Michael or one of the characters from a horror movie. He saw that and he got excited because he's like, "Oh, that looks really cool. I haven't seen him in a game in a minute."
Exactly.
And you're right. And for me, I always thought that was just like something that we missed out on. Like I try to push him to play video games. He's really just stuck in his ways. He's like, "No, no, I'm not a child anymore. I don't play games." I'm like, "That's something we can bond over. That's something that we
Exactly.
can do together." And we bond across many other things. I'm not worried about that. But it is something that I would like to, explore. Yeah.
And I see that I think that's important because so many times like growing up, and thankfully I didn't have the similar experience. My mom basically, that was her way of keeping me like grounded in the house, because
Yes.
my mom was the type, I came up in a single parent household, so it was already tough because my mom worked 2 or 3 jobs
Mhm.
at a time. But she basically, the way she was able to connect with me and keep me grounded like through the years was through my love of video games. Because first one was Sega Genesis. She got it for me like in first or second grade because like I was always, and I've always been an overachiever when it came to like my grades and like my schooling and everything. So she
Good.
she figured like video games couldn't hurt because it would keep me grounded, and like it would give me an incentive to stay on top of my schooling, because if I did well, if I did my chores and all this other stuff, and maintained what need to be maintained, then I could get a new video game, and that would keep me like out of the streets and from doing some of the stuff that my some of my friends like down the road and eventually end up getting locked up for otherwise. We're not going to talk
Mhm.
about that, but you know how it goes.
Oh,
but
I do. Yeah,
but
absolutely.
but that was her way of keeping me out of the streets and keeping me grounded, was through a love of video games. And then so she never curtailed my love of video games because it just became a part of me. And then when people say the notion that games are for kids, I always tell people like, who do you think makes these games? Because I guarantee you there's not a 6-year old like sitting behind an office cubicle that's like doing a 3D rendering model of like an ogre for the next World of Warcraft update. So games are developed by adults for everybody, especially other adults in this time of age, because you never truly outgrow games. You just find something that you gravitate towards, and it evolves with you as you get older. Just like taste in movies and music change, your taste in games change the older you get.
Mine absolutely did. I think for a while, I thought I was gonna be too afraid to play horror games, and then I started to just pick them up more and more, and now it's kind of a large part of my it might not necessarily be on Twitch. You might not see me playing and stressing myself out in front of a lot of people, but it is a large portion of my library. Now, back then, I used to play a lot of, like, Animal Crossing. Believe it or not, my favorite game to play was Mickey and the Magic Mirror.
I remember that
'Cause
game.
right? And hey, I know you'll look and be like, "This is actually a kid's game." That game was so in depth,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like a huge collection of mini games that were actually fun, and you actually felt like you were getting lost and things were getting hopeless. Good game. So I evolved from that to maybe I started playing a little more cat if you remember the Catwoman GameCube game, I played
Yes.
that.
I
I know a
remember
lot of
that.
people trash it, but I loved it. And I know. And then I moved on and I just kind of developed from there. God of War has still been and probably still will be my favorite series because it's just overall the good balance of violence and story. It's
Hmm.
great. Yeah.
And see, I'm glad you brought up God of
Mhm.
War, and I'm glad you brought up God of War because even now, seeing like you the other day, because I come in streams and I lurk, and to see you go back and replaying like the classic God of War like 1 through 3, and to see you like going back to, and it blows my mind because back then those graphics, we talk about the gore and everything, like it was like our parents were like, no, you can't play those games, they're uber violent, uber gory, and now we look back, it's like this was just pixelated
Right?
just
It was
pixelated man,
catch up. It was
basically.
catch up. That's what it was. Cause I was playing. It honestly had me laughing my butt off yesterday. I was done. That game, I would actually let my youngest play that. Cause except for and mind you, we'd have to monitor those nude scenes because
Yes.
back then, hey, they actually went all out back then on those nude scenes.
They did
They did their best. Those were actually pretty but yeah, everything else with the monsters and the blood, that was nothing. That was nothing.
no, not compared to what we have today. It's yeah, to say the least.
Oh yeah, now you really think it's blood. You're like, "Oh, wait, is that mine? Did I
Mm.
bleed? Oh. Oh god."
And it just shocks me because some things I see from me, and I'm a grown adult, I'm just like, that was a little too much blood even for me. So I know the way that games are developing, I was like, whenever I have a family, I was like, I know there's some games you just
Mhm.
you
Resident
cannot play.
Yes, you cannot. Resident Evil 7 still disgusts me to this day. Like just that first part when you're in their home and you
Mm-hmm.
just see the guts and things just all over the place, like, it made my skin crawl. Like, I played that game, and I don't know if people remember, I fought Jack, I fought the dad. There's, like, a
Mm-hmm.
boss battle. I physically started getting sick because I was like, "Yo," and I know it's not that real, but just the stress, because he was beating my butt. He was really, like, kicking my butt that night. Just the stress of me just sitting like this and being freaked out by all the moving parts and the gore and him just taking this chainsaw and not flinching. I was like, "Alright, I gotta put this down. This is too much."
Mm-hmm.
I was like,
Like this
it was the first time. First
that's
time a game made me feel sick.
that's basically where you just like, I draw the line, like,
Mhm.
it's like I have a very high line, it's hard to cross, but sometimes you just meet that one game, you're just like, nah, this ain't it, chief.
Right.
So no, I'm glad you brought that up too. But some of these games for my children, I'm like, no, nah, little buddy, you're gonna have to be a little bit older before we can let you have that.
And we
um
gotta wait for that. Yeah, definitely gotta. But parents, and despite what people believe, parents are really good at monitoring their kids' games.
they are.
I'm surprised. I thought that we would have issues. No, parents aren't dumb. They look at your games and they're like, no. They move it on.
Exactly. And
Hmm.
so I'm salute to all the parents out there that are actually looking at the content of the games you get for your children ahead of time. And to
Hmm.
those of you who are just buying the games and not looking at it, well,
Please.
do
It's
better.
different. It's different from when we were young. It's
Yes.
so different. You could probably let some things slide because the developers didn't know how to get those angles right. But now they've got all the tries, all the little vertices to make it smooth and realistic. It
Mm-hmm.
will pop on screen.
It will. It will. So, don't be surprised when you walk into your room and you see little Timmy with all like the smooth 3D rendering. You're like, oh, I thought this was gonna be pixels, and no, there's no more pixels and polygons, and no, it's
Oh,
it's
they call that stylistic now. You know that? The
yes,
little the little 3D poly giant blocky style. It's a style now.
really.
It used to be our standard, but now it's a style.
Some styles just need to stay in the past. That's all I gotta say. Just
Mhm. Mhm.
we have come such a long way.
We have.
All right. So let me go into this next topic because it's also important because not only you just a gamer, but you mentioned before computer scientist. And I think this is one of the dopest things that attracted me to you when I first came across your channel and just me as a whole, just you as a person, not even just a streamer, just as a person. So speak to me a little bit about what or who motivated you, especially as a woman of color to get into the tech industry, especially going down the role of computer scientist.
So my parents aren't from a CS background or anything. I didn't really have much to pull from except my grandpa when it came to what I wanted to do in the future. And of course, I feel like it's really hard to put something on a kid's head, like asking them, "What do you want to do with your life? You got to
Mm-hmm.
go to college and you got to know what you want to do the first year." And that's hard, but I was really lucky to have so many entrepreneurial examples. Both my parents, by the time that I was even in, let's say like elementary, middle school, they owned their own businesses. So,
Oh, okay.
yes. So, by that time, when I had gotten older, I was like, well, I clearly want something for myself because my parents have something for themselves. And my grandpa kind of honed that for me because he worked for NASA. He was a Q&A engineer. So while he passed a few years back actually, but he still has left a huge impression on everybody in our family's lives. And one of the biggest ones he left with me was when he took me to NASA for, all of bring your kids to work day. He could have brought, anybody else in the family because we have a large family. There are so many kids, there's so many grandkids that he has, but he picked me. So being able to go and experience a work environment, and it was a young age. I didn't completely comprehend everything, but I knew that what my grandpa did was cool. And I knew it was important because when you see all those shiny buttons on the wall and you see
Yep.
people sitting around the computers, you're like, oh, this is serious. What is this?
Mm-hmm.
And while,
Because you're
yeah,
basically you
yeah,
basically got somebody else's life in your hands, like whether you
yes.
know it or not.
Mhm. He taught me that. He told me that everybody in that building had an important, and it looks so boring when you're going up because we didn't go to like the space center. I'm from Space City. So I had already seen the space center so many times. No, we went in the back with all the giant uniform, tall white buildings and everything looks the same and I'm just like, what are we doing? But when you get in and you actually meet who he's working with, and you're so young, but I still was able to at least grasp, oh, pop, my papa, he likes what he does. It's really
Mm-hmm.
cool. And look at all these shiny little buttons. They do things. And I think that kind of set me off from there. And while I didn't go into exactly what I expected when I started computer engineering,
Mm-hmm.
and that's mostly hardware. So I was more designing PCBs, reading diagrams, setting things up and soldering, because that's what else are they gonna teach you your first year in college? They're not gonna go into all the, every single equation and teach you all the
No.
electrical exactly. So my first year I got into soldering and, at least reading diagrams properly and going through that. And I was like, this isn't as flexible as I would like it to be. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's not as it's not as inventive as I thought it was gonna be. But I still hadn't caught on to that, and a lot of stuff happened in college. My mom had another baby. I'm from a family of 5, so that was when my brother
Whoa.
popped out. Yeah, my brother popped out. I went to Howard, and Howard was already having a whole bunch of it was just a wild situation,
Mm-hmm.
going on in that whole year of undergrad. So on top of that, my brother finally being welcomed into the world, I moved back home, and it was really hard for me to get back into the engineering department because a lot of my courses, since it's an HBCU, and then
Don't.
we're going to yes, a lot of my courses weren't accepted. I had to play like a catch-up game because I spent a lot of time, my family's a working background, so I had to
Yeah.
get a job. So I had to support myself ish because they're still my family and they still want me to have somewhere to stay.
Mm-hmm.
So I had bills that I had to pay. I had to go through and get like side night, well, not even night classes, just side classes just to kind of tend it over while I situated myself. And then I found computer science. And from there, I had to, it was really funny because when I was taking my first CS class, I got an interview with somebody. Was it from Intel? You slid me that interview from Intel. And
Ooh.
it was only my first year. I had not finished a single CS course, a single one. And the man asked me, he's like, "Hey, so what are you practicing? What languages do you know?" I was like, "Oh, I'm learning C++. This is great. We're working on these skills." He's like, "So how many classes did you use for your program?" I was like, classes?"
Mm-hmm.
I drew a blank. And he just cut the interview right there. He's like, "Okay, that's all I need to know. Thank you so much." Boom. And that was my first interview, like, ever. It was so nerve-wracking. It was in my truck. I was sitting in my truck because I had nowhere else to take this interview. But it was a wild experience, but it was like a way to be like, "Okay, I need to get on my game." And then from there, I started picking up languages. I found myself in more research positions and
Okay.
more where I ended up taking the lead on these projects because people are awkward. So when they hear someone like me who's really, vocal forward, they assume that I have it. They're like, "Oh, she sounds like she knows what she's doing."
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to sound like that because I really don't. But I went through I went through and I was like, "Okay, well, since we all don't know what we're doing, let me go ahead, do the research and get us at least a workflow, a timeline. Let's put it down." So that's kind of what led to me doing research in school. I was lucky enough to get picked up on a research project. That was fun. I did some work with a company in DC. That was a nightmare, but that was a every bad experience is a good experience because you learn something.
Wait. You gotta tell us a little bit about the DC one. Why was that one a nightmare in particular?
Woo, okay. I know I've kind of launched off into all this.
No, you're fine. You're
No,
fine.
yeah, absolutely. Before I got into my research, I did research at South Dakota State. I
Okay.
had a co-op with a company, and we won't even go into the name, but I did a co-op with a company that was based in Maryland. And they were just scouting mostly HBCUs. They were looking for computer scientists and programmers, just whatever your experience, they were willing to bring you on,
Okay.
and you started as an apprentice.
Like most programs do. Yeah.
Like most programs do. So I had gotten this from Mango because he's like, "You need to be grabbing any and every opportunity out there." I said, "Great." I interviewed. They had us do a Java program where they wanted us to design a menu, basically, like a circular menu. And you were able to select each item on that menu, just a preliminary test. I did that. And quickly, once I was brought through that process, I realized that there was like no real plan. The whole program was project based. And there were just so many ifs and whens and maybes, but there was always some big company involved. Like apparently for one of the prototypes that we made, we were doing it for the Secretary of Defense. And it blew my mind because I was like, I didn't get like if this was for the Secretary of Defense, I feel like we all would have been vetted. There would have been a very long requirements list, and we would have had a much bigger team. It was just a team of like 4 or 5 of us, and each one of us was a
Whoa.
specialist. Yes, yes. Each one of us was a specialist. I think we had a computer security specialist. We had somebody who was more on the design side of the team. I was the hardware and software specialist because I had at least had some experience with hardware before, and we also had another general programmer. That was so stressful because not only was the program leader disorganized and there was no real like communication when
Mm.
it came
Mm.
to, deciding what the next steps would be. I literally basically I put our physical prototype together, and I also coded our prototype. So a lot of that was all me. And while it wasn't the right way to go about things, it taught me a lot about, okay, this is how a working environment should be.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is ridiculous. I got calls from my director late at night, like, oh, I need this deadline by blah blah blah. And I'm like, well, I wish you would have emailed me that. That would have been nice, like a week ago. It was stressful.
I would have been
So I
email.
did that.
I would have been calling or emailing somebody back. Cause like, hey, look, you realize you called me at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night about a deadline. I
Yeah.
am an apprentice. And like,
Yes. Yes.
at this point, was this even a paid apprenticeship or was this just like,
Oh, we can. Okay, so the pay part, bruh.
oh
I didn't
Lord,
get paid for months. I didn't get paid for months. Like I had to pull teeth to
whoa,
just to
okay,
get, yeah. And I didn't think after that, I have not had any issues with payments. So when I hear stories about people not getting their pay on time, it's crazy how common it is. But people will really just try to step on you, and they'll step on your needs. They're like, "Oh, you don't need this. I need this, and I'm selfish." And you're just out here trying to, get some experience. And I'm like, "No, you're taking up, clearly you want me to be available at 10 p.m. So I'm gonna need 10 p.m. money. I don't know what you think this is." But yeah, so after about, I think that was like 6 months. I think that was like it was either 6 or 8 months that I was just like, all right, this is too disorganized. There's nothing else useful that's coming out of this other than maybe me meeting other people. I did get to meet a lovely contact who also, but I honestly I could have probably worked that contact out myself, because that was just another acquaintance at NASA.
yeah,
And my grandpa, who had already introduced me to some people, I'm sure he had known her as well. So, other than meeting people and learning the workflow that I preferred, I didn't get what I expected, which was somebody who knew what they wanted, and an agile team. That's what they like to say nowadays.
yep,
An agile workplace.
mm-hmm.
So, while it came with a lot of stress, I still learned a lot.
That is actually impressive that you came out of that situation and you were better for it. Because sometimes I
What?
hate to say,
You got a whole host. Look at you.
oh, I yeah, I was not expecting that
Oh, I
one.
shouldn't have said nothing. I shouldn't have said nothing. My bad. We should have
Nah,
kept going.
nah, you good. I'm gonna go ahead and break the fourth wall for this one. Yo, Cup, thank you so much for that monstrous host. I appreciate you. We gonna get to talking about you here in a little bit, Cup, as well too. But thank you so much for that host and that raid. Welcome, Raiders. Um, I'm
Welcome, are you nudes? What's up? Oh, she said, wow, they said her head was big.
oh
They're so rude.
wow.
Wow. Hi, Kason. Nice to see you. I'm
They
I'm I'm done breaking the fourth wall.
they're your friends and supporters 1 minute, and then they turn coat on you the next.
Right? Only on Twitch do they say they love you, and then they talk about how big your forehead is.
Mm-hmm.
It's no in between.
It's never, 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 never. But welcome all of you people dropping nudes in the chat. And for those of you who are listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, I'm going to keep saying it because I'm going to keep plugging it. But for all of those of you who are listening, when they raid, they drop nudes. You have to see the video on YouTube to understand, all right? So not mean to break the fourth wall on that one. But what I was trying to get at is like, it's amazing that you broke through and you were able to come out of that situation in still such a positive fashion and still motivated to want to be in this field, because one, it's a very highly competitive field, and two, it's also so fast paced that what you spoke about is true. Like when you look at a development team or a computer science team, anything that deals with tech, they want you to be agile. They want you to be able to self-start projects. They want you to be able to, like, if you don't know something, that's fine, but we need you to ramp up and self-learn so we can, get from A to B. And I think that's the biggest part of it, is like being able to self-learn.
I will say that my husband definitely had his family comes from a heavily educational background. Not only are his parents professors, but so were their parents. So they are steeped in a line of provosts, professors, like all of that. They have the educational resources that I could dream of. Now, I noticed that when he is working,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of his work deals with him delving into new stuff. And he spends a lot of his time learning and learning and learning. And you think You do, you go, you get your bachelor's and your master's. What else you got to learn, right?
True.
No, yeah, no. In his realm, there's still so much, especially when you're working, because they want you to do so much more.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed that in our field, it's like not only do you have to know the stuff that is existing, you also got to learn the stuff that's being developed and the stuff
Exactly.
that's coming and the stuff that's being thought of. Like it's you're never gonna stop learning when you come into tech.
No.
Absolutely.
And you can't afford to because it just
Hmm.
evolves at such a fast pace, especially, and I'll even talk about this, like people ask me like, because I'm a full stack developer, like you're a computer scientist, so you go at you have everything I have, and plus like even like the bare, like the low level languages like C++, all of that.
Those.
I have a bare minimum knowledge of it, so I can't play in that realm, but I have like just enough to like say I can understand it. But when people ask me like what would I rather be in, like full like front end or back end development as a programmer, I said honestly, give me back end, because front end, between like a different iteration of JavaScript coming out every single year, between like the way like, you know, right now like people build apps and stuff with React, it used to be Angular, and there's always going to be a
Hmm.
new framework or something.
Always.
I'm like,
Hmm.
look, give me back end, because back end moves at a much slower pace. Front end, you got to keep
Yes.
up with every single new framework, every single like iteration of a language, every single year, because it changes. The syntax changes, everything.
It absolutely does. And I think it's funny because I think since we weren't so visual back then when we were, starting out, when computer science really started to, and that, of course, this is before my time, but when computer science really started to boom, it wasn't supposed to look good. It was just supposed to work.
Mm-hmm.
So when we had those languages, those libraries and everything set, it's like this works. So everything's going to be built off of it. Yeah, we're
Mm-hmm.
going to put everything in C. So they didn't want those things to change. And that's why backend is so, I won't say static, but it doesn't change as much as front end.
Exactly.
Because exactly, like things, you see how much Twitch changes on the regular. Like they get a new look like every 5, 6 months now. There's something new being added.
Mm-hmm.
With visual things move faster, new things are being developed. It's a sexier language, I like to think. I remember when you couldn't get a job with JavaScript, and now you can just have JavaScript alone and get a job.
Mm-hmm.
I think things are changing. So for me personally, I feel like if you want to, set it and forget it, back end is where you are, because it's more, you'll look at it and you'll immediately understand it if you have that training behind it. It's like, okay, I know how a database works. There we go. Versus like, oh, which program do I want to use to design a website today? Like there's so many ways you can do it. So,
Exactly.
yeah, exactly. Now, for me, uh because I don't come from a CS background, I've always had to kind of figure things out myself. I think I'm starting to lean more front end,
Okay.
because I like making things look a certain way. But then I also like backend because I like the computational power behind it. Like I like the idea of being able to make my own database. It's
Mm-hmm.
actually, and I know I'm telling everybody this, but I would love, this is something that I want to implement in my stream. I would love to be able to take all of my subscriber data, and the byte command was always about computers. So I wanted to make everybody a RAM stick and put them on
Ooh.
a motherboard, and they would be in a database, but I would also have like a front end web page so everybody could see their subs in the byte computer, and you get to see your name on a RAM stick with all your little data, and just a simple but creative way of expressing how code can really just up your engagement with your chat. Like, oh,
Exactly.
hey, you've just been added to the byte computer, here, check out this link. And they're like, what do you mean a link? And they go and look, and they're there with like a whole bunch of other subs. I think that'd be cool.
I think honestly that would be amazing, and it's a great way and a great fit to bring two interests and two two aspects of your life together between Twitch, your subscribers, and the people who come to view you, and what you do in a day to day, and just the love of like what fuels and what makes it all work. Because we look at all of this right here, like the way everybody's listening to us now, the way that they're seeing us. All of this had to be programmed. All of this had to be developed by a group of minds or somebody who had an idea like, hey, this is how
Yeah.
technology can benefit our lives, and this is what we can do to like make social connection more possible, like in the modern age. Like all this comes from somebody's like grand scheme, and like
Exactly. How many times have you not complained about Twitch's mobile app? Can
mm,
we get more? How many times have you not complained about Twitch's mobile app? We get on Twitch mobile, and what do people say? Oh, I can't see. Oh, wait, what'd you do? It's like we still have little things that need to be worked out. So please get into mobile development. There is development for every facet of the internet. There's so many ways to make things better. So yeah, if that's what you want to do, I would highly recommend it because that's just one of those areas I feel just needs that extra push, especially on Twitch.
exactly. And then mobile development. I'm not going to go too far off on the tangent on this one, but it's just fascinating that we're even talking about this because some of you are viewing and listening on mobile right now. Like, it's one thing to program for a desktop and a laptop, like screen resolution, size, and things of that nature. That's fine because, nowadays everything is, I don't know, it's very adaptable. It's very adaptive,
Mhm.
like adaptive design is what they say. But for mobile, you have to go the next step above because you have the Android OS. I mean, you have the Apple OS, you have the Android. You have so many different screen resolutions, so many different sizes.
Yes.
You have
It's
so
hard.
it's hard, and literally you can make a career in just that alone, and that in itself is like a livable income. But it constantly changes because constantly we're asking even mobile devices, not even phones but tablets, to keep up and to compute
Mhm.
more and to do more, to be more versatile while still being on the go. So
We want
it's
things, yeah, we want things to be thinner. We want things to run faster. We want things to look better. We're asking a lot for hardware, and then we have to have the software keep up. Like
mm-hmm.
it's not even worth it to have good hardware when your software can't even utilize it. It's effort on both sides. But software wise, it's double that because they have to not only work with that hardware, but they also have to please the different basically customers that they're working. It's not a shoe. So
Mm,
that's a lot.
it is. And so anytime like I have to do a project or I have to do something for a customer and they want to throw in mobile development, I'm like, how many devices are we testing this for? Like, what's the OS? What's the time frame?
Yeah.
Because if you think this is going to get done overnight, you are sadly mistaken. Because there's so much you have to account for when you get into the
The
mobile
importance,
development.
right? The importance of a requirements list.
Yes. So it blows my mind. All right, so let me also ask you this too, because we're going to kind of double back on this as well too, because we talked about programming languages, but there's one more thing I want to ask you before we get to that. So, and you may have touched on this. Recall a specific time where you felt like you defeated and you just thought about giving up being into computer science or the tech field. Like, is there an example that stands out more so than anything else?
Ooh, and you'd think that the example with that company where that I had somebody calling me like every hour of the night or whatever, that would be like, geez, this is where I quit. Uh, no, that wasn't it for me. I think it was like my sophomore junior year in college. Again, while I from the household I come from, it's always family first.
Mm-hmm.
So responsibilities and taking care of yourself and your family was a big deal. So there was a time where I had a job. I was going to school full time. Um and then I commuted too. I wasn't staying on campus. I was at home with my family.
Which is
So
which is honestly all good because it allows you to save some money while still trying to catch up on
right.
classes. So
Right. And
yeah.
that's never, yeah, if that's it, really just depends on your situation. If you have that environment at home where you can study and it's not hard to get to school, go for it. For me, It was kind of hard because I had an odd job that was at odd hours. I would be up super, super early in the morning and I'd have to be back. My mother works with children. I too love working with children. So I was in a before and after care program.
Okay.
So of course it was before school and after school. So I would have to go there at like 5 a.m. And then right after that, I'd have to fight traffic to get to school. All of my classes were bunched together in that period of time because I had to get back on the road and get back to work. And then just because you're done with work, you got to go home to 4 other kids, which you
Mm-hmm.
do have to feed. And you do have to, you living in somebody's house, even if it's your parents. When you live in somebody's house, you got to clean up, you got to do your part.
Mm-hmm.
Because, my parents, I know some people paid rent. My parents weren't those type of parents, but they definitely were like, oh, you gonna do some legwork around the house. So depending on what type of day it was, it could be maybe another hour or, hour and a half, 2 hours of waiting for dinner to be done and getting everything cleaned up and ready and stuff. So it would be like 8, 9 o'clock when I would finally sit down because school's done. It's aftercare. I'm done at like 6:30, 7:30. It'd be 8, 9 o'clock when I could finally sit down and do my work.
Mm-hmm.
And it got so exhausting, so exhausting. And one day I was driving home and I fell asleep on the road.
Oh.
Yeah, it kind of makes me tear up now.
It's okay.
I'm sorry.
No, no, no,
Yeah,
no,
no,
no.
I know.
Take your time. Take as much time as you need, because
Yeah, it was very stressful. It was like going back between that and whew, just trying to succeed and do your best. And you want to do your best, right? Because you have the potential
mm-hmm.
to do, the best that you can. But that was so dangerous. That was when I decided to make the change, and I was so happy that I moved on campus because it's like you have to compete, not with just, your peers, but you're trying to get a job and you're trying to show your siblings that you can set a good example and you don't want to be tired all the time. I'm sorry.
No, you're
That was a dark place, but
no,
yeah,
you're good.
that yeah, that was when I thought that either I quit and I get a better quality of life or I go ahead and I just change my lifestyle and decide, is this what I want to do? And it was a really hard decision for me because again, family was a big part of my life and it was kind of like I was leaving them. Uh I was like leaving them to their ways, and I felt like I was abandoning my family, but it was a selfish decision that I had to make for me. And in the end, it ended up being the best decision I could have made because I'm now at least successful in what I do. I've met so many people. I'm able to share that with, you know, my siblings, and my family's proud of that. But yeah, that was a dark time for me, seeing myself like on the road about to crash into somebody because I was stressed out about meeting my goals and going to school and competing with my peers. It was hard. And I know I smile a lot on stream. I know I'm very happy, but I've been through some things. I've been through some things. And if you're going through something like that, make the time and make a change if you can because it's just not healthy for you. And I'm so sorry to get emotional on your stream.
Look,
I was not expecting that to hit that hard, but yeah, that was it. And I know some people can probably attest to that. I know everybody has their own experience, but ugh. Yeah, thank you guys. Y'all are so sweet. Thank you.
they are the best. But no,
They
honestly,
are.
I don't mean to
Mm,
jump in, but I want to
yes,
say
please
this
do.
because I got to really stress this. Like, you don't owe us no apology for being emotional, because what you go through has made you and has made you the person that you are today. And it's so important because we're living in an age now where we talk about, like, mental care or self-care is so important. And back then and even now, we have a lot of people, we push ourselves to be our best, and we feel like, if we can just push through, one more test, or we can drive a little bit
Yes.
further, or go a little bit harder, study, take one more
Yes.
hour, it'll pay off. And sometimes it's true,
Yes.
but
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we push ourselves to an extent where we don't realize that we're putting ourselves in harm's way by not taking care of what's first and foremost important, which is our mental and physical safety. And
Mm-hmm.
we want to succeed, but not at the risk of, like, putting ourselves in harm's way. And I think that's so important that you brought that up, because we just keep telling everybody to push through, push through, push through. And some people just are not able to push through, because if they do it just a little while longer, who knows where it can end up physically or mentally. And I'm glad that you brought that up, because it was not being between working, like, on both ends, like going first thing 5 o'clock in the morning to work with kids, then fighting with traffic to take those classes, then coming back home, doing your share of housework and whatever else the case may be, and then going back out to do more work or night classes or study, and then putting yourself on the road like that. Like,
Yeah.
that's a lot of it. That's a lot of exhaustion, and there's very little downtime to kind of, like, reel yourself in and take a moment for yourself. um
Yeah.
and
It's
no,
oof.
no,
Okay.
no, no, no,
Yeah.
no, continue, because
With that, with that, I was just trying because I wanted to answer your question fully. With that, it wasn't something I want people to understand that it's not a time that you should decide, oh, you should quit this because clearly it's not what fits your schedule. It's really just that matter of, you taking the time to make time for you. I knew that I had the skills and I knew that I had the drive and that I could adapt and succeed in this industry or in this field. It was literally just me making that choice. And I almost didn't make that choice for me because I thought that it wouldn't be the best decision for me and my family. I was like, okay, well, maybe I should just stop and, find a more convenient job. But no, it was a matter of me choosing me. And I hope that y'all make that choice for yourselves because that's really, really important.
that's so very important. And I don't have nothing to add to that. You hit the nail on the head. It's, you can do it, you can push through it, and I'm glad you didn't quit on that, but just
Oh,
reeling
thank
it in to to tend to yourself, because
Oh yeah,
all
we gonna make this CS degree work because I worked hard for it. Yeah, no, we gonna get that degree. Getting this gonna get some bank. Promise that because oh my god, it was a lot. People go through a lot. School is not easy at
Mm-mm.
all, at any means, especially when you don't have the means to have that college lifestyle. I know there are people I honestly don't think people talk about that enough. I think it's a great time to stay with your family and if you can save money cuz it's smart. But you got to make sure that what you're doing outside of just, going home and going to school, like everything that you're doing adds to your life. So, yeah, it shouldn't make you, feel terrible to do it. You shouldn't be tired. You shouldn't be not enjoying yourself. Even if you're in school and you got to work, you still got to enjoy yourself. Have fun.
Mm-hmm. And somebody said it perfectly right there too. Like, lady in tech, she said it perfectly. Is, you're going to school. You're basically no good to anyone else or yourself if you feel like you're broken down mentally or physically. And
Yes.
the degree, the rewards that come with the degree, the career, and everything is worth it. And you're living proof of that. But it's just a simple fact that self-care had to kick in at some point, because you knew it was worth it and you weren't willing to quit on it. But
Mhm.
just to put yourself in a situation like where maybe you wouldn't have been able to reap the benefits of what you're working so hard towards, it's very frustrating, and it puts everything in perspective so fast. Just
Mhm. Oh yeah, sitting on the highway in your car, waking up at the wheel, that'll definitely put things into perspective.
Oh
But
Lord.
yeah, I know. But yeah, that uh just have confidence in what if you feel like that's what you want to do it and make those sacrifices.
You know what? We got a lot of people in here in the chat. If y'all are loving this information so far, and definitely if you are very much touched by what Chelsea has hit you with, because she has spoken a lot of truth here, and y'all, everybody has a story to tell and life experiences. I'm gonna ask right now, if you're a sub in Chelsea's channel chat, drop your favorite Chelsea emote in the chat. I want to see them. Like, just drop all of them,
Oh,
because
we don't have the chips and dip emote. Oh no. Yo,
I
no.
literally need my chat to be flooded with Chelsea emotes up and
Oh,
down, left and right now.
y'all are wild.
I
Thank
kid
you.
you not.
It's funny. Please, please, please. Morgan drew that heart emote, and she is also somebody that I know who is making those changes to, do what she wants to do. And she works a lot. Like right now, this whole situation, she has health, she has pre-existing health issues. So her job has had to make accommodations for her job. So please, if you like that heart emote, go show Morgan Alicia some love, because she is my roll dog. She is awesome. I would feel stupid if I didn't shout her out, but absolutely. Thank you.
Hey,
Thank you so much for that.
of course, we got to. And if I have a mod in chat, can y'all give a shout out for Morgan Alicia right now, please? Y'all need to go check her out as well too. I kid you not. Please go do that. Go show somebody else some more love as well too. It's all family here, so
Oh,
we don't
oh
take
my
we don't
God.
take nobody or anyone for granted around here. Go check them
It's
out.
crazy. Yeah, seeing all y'all in every stream I go in, y'all are like a real community.
I mean that's just thanks to individuals like you, like Cup, and like so many others who've basically fostered the positive environment that we have now. Because Twitch, Cup will tell you, and we talked about this on the last podcast. Twitch wasn't like this a couple years ago. It was like wild west.
Oh man.
Everybody for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
It was ugly.
You right, actually. I need to actually rewind that podcast again. Yeah, those were some gems dropped in that stream.
Yes, well, we're getting even more now. So you're just going to add to the pile.
Let's go. I'm here.
All
I'm
right.
adding to it.
Excellent. All right. So adding to that pile, next question. And we talked about this too with being the computer scientist, and then we're going to get into some more fun topics. But very first programming language, what was it? Because you mentioned C++, and you mentioned like now wanting to do more front end coding and programming. And then also speak on the subject of imposter syndrome, because me and you had this conversation before stream where we talked about imposter syndrome, and you have a unique take on it that oftentimes we don't get to hear. So I want you just to elaborate on that for a little bit.
So my first language was C++. And it's like when you compare C++ to Java, people either love C++ and hate Java, or they love Java and hate C++. I don't know what it is. But that was my first language. And for me, it wasn't like I chose it because I was just learning, a program. I didn't know all of the technical things behind it. I was just like, "Oh, this is interesting. I can, print things and do stuff, and it's great." And as I kind of moved on further and learned more about what I wanted to do when it came to programming, I started to melt towards Java, because I just like how visual it is. For
Mm-hmm.
me, it's like not only can I calculate and compute and do these things here, I can also display it in so many different ways, in ways that C++ really can't. Now, C++ has, depending on the problem you have, the libraries are extensive.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, why not? That would be my first go-to like general language. But if I wanted to add some flair to it, Java was always my choice. And I think for me, I think the Eclipse IDE was just my favorite IDE back then. I was like, it's so pretty. They had like Eclipse Mars for MIPS, and then they
Mm-hmm.
had like Eclipse Neon. And I just enjoyed their whole suite. But that And when it came to learning those languages and trying to kind of make my own, when I was doing my own research projects and I was basically leading my own stuff, every job opportunity I had or any job I was put on, they literally just threw it on to me. They were like, hey, figure it out. So when it came down to deciding what I wanted to do, it was very like straightforward because I was like, well, I know what I can do. What's in that realm? So I've never felt like an imposter,
Mm-hmm.
but I completely get it because if somebody were to ask me to do some very sizable task, like right now, if somebody asked me, "Oh, hey, you're cool with you're starting to get into JavaScript," which I am really like only now am I getting into JavaScript, right?
Yeah.
And HTML, they taught us. They did. I didn't know. I thought everybody learned HTML in elementary. I don't know if that's true now. I'm like, oh, I thought that was a standard. So
I felt like bare minimum everybody should have learned HTML by middle
right,
school. Thanks
yeah, exactly.
simply thanks to MySpace alone.
Yeah, if you and I made my MySpace so late. But yeah, if you hadn't, I thought everybody had dipped their toes into HTML. So if somebody asked me today to make a website based on my JS, HTML, and CSS experience, I'd be like, oof. Oh, you think I'm that good? Yikes. Let me show you. So I can imagine in that situation that I'd definitely be like, uh-oh, this is the when's someone gonna find out I'm full of it? Because but that's purely because I guess I know my skills aren't up to par. Now I know plenty of people who have bountiful skills and more, like they are more than well prepared. And hey, I have seen people who are confident in the job they have and their skills do not match. Their skills do
Ooh.
not match that job title. I promise you, I'll be like, I know this and I'm not even an expert. So yeah, I've seen people who have confidence, they're not good at their job,
Mm-hmm.
and they're doing just fine.
Mm-hmm.
So if you just haven't somehow convinced yourself that you're skillful enough to survive in a field that you've been preparing for however long, I'm sure you put the effort in because you're good at it, then
Mm-hmm.
just remember all the people. And I don't know if this helps you, but it helps me. I remember all the old Joes and Bills I met because right now I'm trying to see if I'm more HR. I do a lot of HR work right now, so I
Okay.
put a lot of people in CS jobs. So I've met, talked to, and screened a lot of Bill, Joes, and Bobs who don't have those skills on their resume, and they're still applying for the job, and they get the job.
Mm-hmm.
So don't sell yourself short just yet. I personally haven't experienced it, but I'm pretty sure it's because I haven't been given that opportunity to experience it yet. So it's not out the window, but you got it. That's me. I don't know why I'm gravitating to just straight up giving advice, but that's just what I gravitate to. You got it. You have way more than 90% of America, I'm sure. You're ready for the job.
Exactly. And I'm glad you're in the HR position where you're doing the screening and putting people in these CS positions because honestly, we tell people that all the time. Like, even if you think you're not qualified, even if you think you don't have the skills yet, like what they're being
Yes.
asked of, like, people fail to realize some of these HR postings really like are written by people who have nothing to do with that field anyway. I
They absolutely are.
please speak up.
Absolutely.
Please
So
please speak about that too. As somebody who's in
I
HR, what it feels like to have somebody write an HR posting for a position they know nothing about. Please speak about that.
they copy and paste it from the request. And the people that are requesting these jobs, they aren't experts either. So they talk to there may be you might get lucky and you'll get a hiring manager who will write the request. So
Mm-hmm.
they know exactly what they want, but they only may get it in a nice little paragraph. Writing is important. Some people don't know how to write down what they want and they'll just list everything in that field when they really only needed two or three skills out of it. So people will look at these job postings and be scared away because they're like, I don't fit those requirements. What is that? That's not me. If you get maybe two out of like 5 skills, I would say apply, especially if they're strong ones, because a lot of these hiring managers really don't know what they want
They
and what
don't.
they need. They really don't. And in my job specifically, no one in my office, save maybe me, depending on the position, because again, I do not cover the full realm of tech. I know my realm of languages. Now, if
Mm-hmm.
you go into machine learning or
Oh,
mechanical engineer, yeah, that's Mango. That's not me. But yeah, there's still a certain wording that I look for. There's still a certain architecture that I'm looking for when I look at these postings. And the people in my office aren't, correcting it or reading it. They're copying and pasting it. They are
mm-hmm.
copying and pasting it. And they don't know what to ask for. They're just like, oh, check, 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 check. All right, I'm submitting you. So yeah, spread a wide net and apply to everything. If you even remotely, if it's a job that you like and you remotely fill those requirements,
Mm-hmm.
they will find a space for you.
If you had to nominate one man and one woman that you would love to see interviewed on the Disconnect podcast, who would the two individuals be? And before you do that, chat, somebody get ready to clip it, because just like we did Chelsea with Cup recommended Chelsea. We're gonna take this clip, we're gonna tweet it, right, chat, right, everybody, and we're going to say we want them on the podcast. All right, so
Engagement.
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 This is that community engagement we've been talking about. All right, I want to see clips of this. All right, so with
And
that,
y'all should share your individual clips of me
true.
not interrupting y'all.
No, share those two. So without that being said, I want to go ahead and do this, and I gotta get this ready too. One man, one woman. Who would you like to see up here on the podcast next as an interview?
So, the first woman that I would recommend, if you haven't heard, her name is Sam. She goes by See What Happened Was.
Oh,
And
yeah.
yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah, yeah. So she is a simmer and she's a streamer, and I enjoy her community. I have so many people to pick from, and just because I said Sam doesn't mean I had like 50 other women that I couldn't pick up. But Sam was at the top of my head because I enjoy her personality, and her style is so clean, and I can't think of a better person for you to interview to break into that simming world. So that's the best place to start if that was one of your interests, because I too have been dragged into the Sims world. So I can't avoid it now. I can't avoid it. I've been tied up. But yeah, Sam, top, you won't regret it. And my other recommendation for our male is Day to Day. And
Oh,
yes, Day
I
to Day.
yep.
Oh my god. I respect wholesomeness, okay? Because I can't be. And, and I think he is one of the more wholesome CS majors out there. And he's so successful, and I enjoy how much he puts himself out there as well. Like, if you've seen some of his skits on Twitter, they are
Mm-hmm.
hilarious and they are thought out and they are clean. And there's nothing like bad that you can say about him at all. Like,
Mm-mm.
he's out here doing things over and beyond. He's so helpful and sweet, and I genuinely enjoy talking to him. So another suggestion that can't go wrong. He's a little he's up there, so you gotta let him dust off some of the clout before he walks up into here. But yeah, yeah,
Mm.
no, he's a great guy. He's down to earth.
I would love to get both Sam, See What Happened Was, and Data Dave up here, because and I haven't had that much interaction with Sam, but we're gonna get some interaction. I'm gonna make this happen. So thank you for that referral. Once again,
I
y'all.
think, yeah, that would be perfect. I think it would be a good. I'm kind of on the side where I want to learn more about you guys because I don't get the opportunity to ask questions like these, just on the regular day to day. So I want to see how she acts or reacts to, people, asking questions about her and talking to her and all of those things. So yeah, that'd be great.
So I got some research to do. I'm gonna have to go in there and lurk in a couple of streams because whether people know this or not, this is how I operate. So I'm gonna give y'all my little like recipe for this. Anytime I get ready to interview somebody, I always go in and lurk on their stuff. Cup also recommended one more person to me, like back when. I also need to check out as well too. And Cup, don't think I forgot. I still remember that person. But also if it's somebody who I've never spent a lot of time in their streams and barely know, I get in there and I go lurk for like a week straight. I might not say nothing, but if you see my name pop up in their viewer list, it's because I'm scouting them and I'm trying to learn as much about them from their viewers and their chat. So I have like the custom questions ready for an interview, because like the questions I've had for you were specifically for you. Like these are not cookie cutter questions. I want people to come in here with questions specifically for them based on their life experiences, their professions, and what they love and enjoy. So I'm gonna have to go in there and lurk on her for a little bit, and we gonna get her up in here. And then Data Dave. Now the funny thing about Data Dave, I'm glad you mentioned him, is he is definitely such a helpful individual, just for the simple fact it happened. And I know the company, they don't deserve Dave, first and foremost.
They absolutely do not.
Because he applied for voice acting and they literally turned him away because he was too urban, or, because, they always want to associate, black people as a brand risk or a risk to work with, whatever, they too ghetto, whatever they want to say, whatever. Right. First and foremost, shame on them. And I'm going to say it here. I'm not politically correct on this podcast like I am on stream. Dave, you didn't have to say it. I'm going to say it for you. Kiss my ass. Now, secondly, this dude is honestly awesome. I've been in his chat more than once, his stream more than once. And when he dropped that tweet about the voice acting, I sent him a direct message letting him know that they don't deserve him. But at the same time, I had another question I wanted to ask him, which was about voice acting, because people always are recommending streamers to get into other things. Just like I'm doing this podcasting, people said I should do voice acting. And this ain't even about me. This is about Data Dave. But he gave me some solid advice, and he didn't have to, about how to get into voice acting. And it doesn't affect him. It doesn't benefit him. He was already like getting into his comfort zone and getting into the industry. But for him to still want to take 5 minutes out of his time to tell me how I can best get into that space, even though, he's going through what he went through with that company, speaks to his character. Because, so oftentimes than not, we meet people or you come across those individuals, they be like, well, if I can't get it, can't nobody get it. Because, it's all about the all for me and none for nobody else mentality, right? But he is not that guy. You have a question and you want to know something that he is knowledgeable about, that he will give you resources and drop you knowledge at the dime of a hat, as if like it was him that's directly benefiting from it. He is the most selfless person I have met in a long time.
Which is why he was my number one male recommendation. I cannot, and it wasn't even, I would have mentioned him before that even happened, because he's still the same dude after that. I went off on Twitter like I do, because I don't censor myself either. But yeah, that was the most disgusting thing. It's like people don't understand that it's 2020 and people still act like that. People still do that. So I thought that was probably one of the last people that I wanted that to happen to. And it hurt. It really hurt, because he was so excited about it. And he was just talking about how he had practiced and done this and that. And he even took time off of his skits to do this, to do the best. And to to receive that disgusting energy, I wanted to know the name, because I was like, let me go ahead and tear this place down.
Mm-hmm.
But him being just professional and respectful, way beyond what I could ever be. I respected him for that. But, I'm still about to be doing my dirt. I'm going to still poke and find out. But yeah, I highly recommend, if you don't know who Data Dave is, that is a heart of gold. And that's hard to convey to me over just a few streams. So yeah, that's just genuine, and you will not you will not go wrong supporting him.
Well said. Well said. So I don't have more to add to that. Data Dave, he speaks for itself, and if y'all have not checked him out, please do so. That is one of the most selfless dudes I've recently met.
Yeah,
On
he's a
Twitch.
teacher.
Yes.
He's a teacher. Of course he's selfless.
It's
Yeah. I
it's
can't. Yeah.
it just blows my mind that we have people who are that selfless and they're still met with that level of disgust. I wanted to know who the company was because I was like, I don't know who you are and what products that you hire for, but I was like, I will not put my money behind your projects. Like,
Mm-hmm.
people don't understand, like, nowadays it's not about necessarily just getting on Twitter and Instagram and all these places and making angry posts. Companies don't fear you until you start pulling dollars from them. When you start pulling dollars from people is when you start getting the action and start getting the results that you desire. People respond to dollar signs, not tweets half the time.
Mm-hmm. So
So,
yeah, let me go ahead and spread some bad press. I absolutely will. We will leave our reviews. We will go and write letters. I will let everybody that I know not to let these companies disrespect people from our community because that's not how we roll. If you think you about to just go and send some trash like that to their inbox, oh, okay. All right, I see how it is. But it's it's like I wasn't it's sad that I wasn't like surprised that they said it. I was just more like, wow, they said that to Dave. And that's wild to me because he was so far. And I don't like that they used urban as almost like an insult
mm-hmm,
because that's disgusting. What about that is bad? People literally hire for that. So
mm-hmm.
I don't know, but it was funny because everything that they said everything he did was right except who he was. And I was like, "Huh." And you're counting him out for that because the whole point of voice acting is that every voice is usable and useful, and as long as you have those technicalities down, you are straight.
Yes, because
So for
voice acting allows you to be anybody at any time. You don't have to
mhm
associate a face with a voice. It allows you to be anybody, anywhere.
mhm had the nerve. The nerve. It was gross. It was very tone deaf. It was very unprofessional. There could have been a whole bunch of other reasons, but that just wasn't it. That just wasn't it. Mm-mm.
Mm. I don't agree with that. That just still doesn't sit right with me.
It surely does not. Surely does not. And it was like you could like getting a no is fine. But getting a no and oh well you're just too this and it's not something that makes sense. I'm like, "Huh? What are you saying? What? Did you have to add that? That's just disrespectful." Period. So we ooh, we could go in on that all day. I'm telling you, if you are a part of this community and you want to break into something or you want to do something, you have to go over and beyond because it's small stuff like that. They'll even just hear it. They don't even have to see it. They can just hear it apparently and they will cut you out of opportunity. So I told Dave straight up, I was like, hey, I really hope this doesn't discourage you because you are perfect. You have done everything that you could and have done and will do because these people are not. But yes, you do have to work a lot harder to succeed in almost any field because people will either get a look or a sound of your voice
Mm-hmm.
and it's out for you.
I know. It's disgusting. It shouldn't be that way. I
I try not to. I said my piece and I let it go with Dave because I was like, imagine how he feels. So I didn't want to drag it out or drag it on. But yeah, it when I feel that when it hurt him, it hurt a lot of people because clearly a lot of people resonated with that on his tweet. It's like, wow, this dude has done everything that he could to, give you a great audition, and this is what you meet him with. Wow. okay. And honestly, if he would have, and I know that's not professional, but if he would have name dropped, you might have actually seen some like backlash or change.
And I think it's true, and this the last part I'm gonna touch on it because I don't want to get too deep into it because I still would want Dave to talk about it even still if he's up for it on his interview, but
Right.
but
Right. Yeah.
I'll just say this part: when companies do this, when companies and I'm gonna look into the camera when I say this, when companies do this, you literally don't have an idea of what you're doing when you put out that disgusting letter, that disgusting email with that wording however you want to portray it, right? You basically not only spat in the face of Dave himself, but you basically spat in the face of every single person that aspires to do what he's trying to do. You literally have shut the door on and the opportunity on so many people with just one person, because it feels like if one of the best of us cannot get in the door and be good enough for you, then why does it make the rest of us feel like Dave is one of the best of us? And
Right?
if you shut him out and you use that disgusting rhetoric and that disgusting wording with him when he's trying to live his dream and pursue his opportunity, what would you dare say behind closed doors or to the face to all of us who don't even, maybe not even have the credentials of what he has? It's insulting.
And the fact that they wrote that in the email, imagine what they were actually saying in their office. I may not know their process, but I know when hiring goes through, it doesn't just go through one person. There is a whole team that reviews your stuff. So if the final point of contact decides to write, yeah, you sound like this, and that's too much for us. Imagine what they're saying together behind those closed doors. Yeah, but yeah, it really angered me. I was literally all caps on Twitter. I rarely do that unless I'm excited or really, really upset. So yeah, that really messed me up. I talked to my husband about it. I basically marinated in that for a minute. And while it's not my story, I still empathize for him. Absolutely. So I just want him to know that we support him. And there will
Exactly.
be tons of other opportunities for an exceptionally talented person. Like,
True.
that's the takeaway. We keep it moving, we keep it trucking, we get upset for a little bit, and then we move on.
Exactly. We learned to bounce back. Very, very resilient. We can't dwell on it forever, but in the moment it hurts. It hurts, but
Hmm.
we got to bounce back from it. So Dave, I don't know if you're listening or if you will be listening, but you know, just like I said, they don't deserve you, man. They
Mm-mm.
don't deserve you, and you dodged a bullet, and somebody with much better outreach, much better working conditions, and with a much better budget for your talent and everything is going to come along. So it was dodging a bullet. If you have emotes, go ahead and throw them in the chat. That is going to conclude our interview with none other than ChelseaBytes. Y'all go ahead and give it up for her for the one time. Chelsea, anything else you would like to say for them?
Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Seriously, it means a lot for you guys to come and not only stick with me, but stick with everybody in the community. Show Disconnect all that love. Share with your friends. Share with people you don't even know. Go into a random server, throw it in there. Just get some new opinions. And thank you for sitting with my, emotional butt. That was, I wasn't expecting it to go that way, but that means it was genuine. It really felt like a great interview. So thank you for giving me this opportunity from you and everybody.
You're welcome, and just thank you for your time. Thank you to your patient husband Mango. He's probably like, y'all have had my wife for like 4 hours now.
He'll
Thank
be all
you,
right.
thank you
We
to
do this daily. They have me for like 3 to 4 hours. This is nothing. This is nothing.
true, and then
Oh man.
thank you to the Bike Command community. Thank you to Kason for the recommendations, and then of course Sam. See what happens and see what happened was, and then Data Dave, we're coming for you next. All right, just so y'all know, y'all been put on notice. We're coming for y'all next. All right.
You have been put on notice. You have 24 hours to respond.
You really do have 24 hours to respond, because I'm about to put this up immediately. Both of those clips.
There we go.
Perfect.
Thank y'all so much.
Thank you. And I will talk to you here soon, okay?
All right.
All right, awesome. Thank y'all so very much for tuning in. I appreciate you. The Byte Command community, my community, everybody that came in with the follows, the hosts, the raids. In case you don't know, we do this podcast twice a month at the beginning and end of the month, covering a wide range of topics between gaming, live streaming, and life and events, okay? If you enjoy this podcast, find it on Apple Podcasts, find it on Spotify, find it on Red Circle, wherever you enjoy your podcasts. And if you in particular want to see this podcast succeed, do me a favor. Apple Podcasts, rated 5 stars so it can appear higher in the search algorithm, so we can attract more listeners and more people. But with that being said, we're going to go ahead and get up out of here, y'all. I'm hungry, I'm tired, and I feel like y'all are ready to get some sleep and rest yourself. All right, take care, and we will see you next time for another episode of the Dizkonect Podcast. You know the deal, you know the vibes, and we'll see you later. Peace.